Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to another Sparks Live. I'm really excited. I'm joined by the super talented Tristan from the Parker's Tavern, and a lot of you will recognize him from Cooking with the Stars on ITV. Thanks for joining.
You're too sweet, Chris. You're too sweet. My pleasure to be here.
Now, a little bit of housekeeping before we get going. Get your ovens on. How hot do they need the ovens
180 degrees, Chris. Get your ovens on right now so they'll be nice and warm for your nuts. But we'll talk more about that later.
Oh, nuts. Okay. Now, we love a competition at Sparks Live, so how would you like to join us in the studio next month for the next Sparks Live? I'm going to be joined by Francesco Mezze. We're doing a pasta masterclass. Now, I get to eat all the nice food here, so you could be joining us next time. All you need to do, what do you think of Francesco? He's going to do a good bowl of pasta.
Masterclass by the master himself. This is one of those money can't buy competitions, Chris. This is fantastic.
You should enter.
I want to enter. Can I enter?
You can enter.
So, Mum, if you're watching, get typing. I'll be a +1.
Yeah, and all you need to do to enter, tonight's all about sustainability and food waste. Email address is on the screen. Send us your top tips for cooking in a sustainable way at home, and I'll be announcing the winner later on. Now, tonight, what are we going to be making?
Right, Chris, tonight we're going to make the most amazing pumpkin risotto, because I tell you what, a pumpkin is not just for Halloween, it's for dinner too.
Nailed it. Yeah, we've got it.
I didn't think he was going to join me in that. I was actually joking. I didn't think you were going to say that, but here we are. Well done, you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, damn, I'm roping you into this. But I'm roping you guys into making the most fantastic pumpkin risotto, which is not just for Halloween, it's for dinner too. What a team. What a team. So we're going to take these lovely pumpkins and we're going to serve it with some caramelized walnuts and some sage. Lovely seasonal dish, which, you know, the family can get in and enjoy and all make together, which should be absolutely wonderful. So shall I take you through the ingredients?
Yeah, let's do that.
So running through the ingredients, first up it is pumpkin, of course. Then we've got a shallot, some garlic, risotto rice. We use our Boreo here. That's the one to use. Then we've got a touch of cider vinegar, a little bit of white wine, vegetable stock. I've got a great tip on vegetable stock I'll share with you in a minute. Then we've got our walnuts, the sugar, our parmesan, butter, cream, mascarpone, and sage to finish it off.
Very autumnal, this. Very sounds like proper comfort food.
It certainly is. It's like a warm hug. So we're going to show you how to make it. And you know, a pumpkin normally is something that you use as a decoration and all that sort of stuff. But the idea is we're going to use it up and show you a way to make it something delicious with it.
Perfect. And any questions at home, type them in on the screens. I'm going to be reading them out, so we'll make sure to get them answered. But let's get started. I'm getting hungry here.
All right, let's get cooking. Perfect. Which pumpkin should we choose? 1, 2, or 3?
2.
2. We went for the middle one.
Yeah.
There we go. So I'm just using a traditional pumpkin here, the ones that you would carve a face out of and all that sort of stuff. You can use other pumpkins. There are some wonderful here. There's some crown princes. There's some, is that an onion squash there? I think it is as well. Fabulous. You can use any sort of, in fact, or a butternut squash.
Yeah, butternut
squash. You can
squash.
use one of those as well if you wanted. But imagine carving a face out of that.
That'd be difficult, wouldn't it?
Be a wonky face.
But these are the ones we generally buy, and then they end up in the bin, don't they?
Yeah,
after you've carved out of them.
Absolutely, but we're not going to waste it this time round. So I'm just going to essentially pull out the seeds out the middle. I tell you what, if you wouldn't mind doing that for me, that would be wonderful. Pull the seeds out of that. That'd be fabulous. But you know, you can use any type of squash that I said.
Yeah.
But when you're scraping out your pumpkin, save the meat, save the flesh, make a risotto out of it as well. And
also the seeds, you can put them on a tray, oil, a bit of spice, toast them off, can't you, and snack on them.
Yeah, and then just crush them with a rolling pin afterwards, just to get out the.
Oh right, okay.
Get out that sort of pumpkin nut that's in the center there, which is really important and delicious like that. So we'll roughly chop those up. I'm going to keep these peelings, these wonderful peelings here. Can you see those? Just focusing on that there.
Yeah.
These wonderful peelings here. We're going to use those for the stock later as well, which would be fabulous. I'm leave them there for now. So that's the messy job.
Yeah, I knew you'd stitch me up with a messy job. I was going to get my hands in there.
I'm waiting for you to get your hands in.
There you go. There's all my seeds.
Just as we were saying, just take a spoon, scrape down your pumpkin like so. But if you're not using, the reason I'm doing it like this time round is to show you that you can use the pumpkin flesh for when you're making your pumpkin faces. You can just peel your pumpkin, and or your squash, or whatever variety you're using. Interesting fact about that, I'll tell you in a second.
Okay.
But as long as you peel them, we're looking for a finely chopped sort of flesh. There.
Okay.
So, interesting fact about pumpkins.
Go on then.
Part of the cucumber family. Did you believe it?
No, I don't believe it.
Yeah, it's true. It's part of the cucumber family.
And in terms of eating sustainably, so this is all about leftovers and waste. How have your eating and cooking habits changed at home and even in the restaurant now that we are all definitely more mindful about food waste?
Yeah, so we really do something about it in the restaurant, actually. Once a month, we have a charity called Rubbish Cooks, where we ask our suppliers to give us bits and bobs that they can't sell over the weekend. And on the Monday, we make a menu with those items that were left over.
Yeah.
Be it dented tins or cauliflower with brown leaves, all that sort of stuff. Wonky veg and all that sort of what have you. What we do is we make a lovely menu and we ask for donations.
Oh, fantastic!
And then all the donations go to our local charity.
Brilliant.
So that's why, and we buy in half a cow a time and all that sort of stuff. We use up everything. Part of it, which is really important. But at home as well, not only is it important just to be mindful and thoughtful about how we cook things and what we have left over, it's money as well.
Exactly.
It's money, and you know in lockdown everyone's short of a penny or two, and so what we tend to do is like roast chicken, for instance. Yeah. Roast chicken, we make us 3 meals in our house. We buy one big chicken, and it's the best quality we can get, which is really important. So just while we're cooking along that, I'm just chopping up our pumpkin. If you want, you can grate it. Actually, that works really well.
Whiz that in a food processor or something as well?
Yeah.
Or would it go a bit pulpy?
You don't want it too pulpy. So if you're going to put it in a food processor, just gently pulse it. Gently pulse it. You're looking for small chunks because it will cook down quite nicely. We just got to give it a chance to cook down.
So you go back to that. You buy one really good quality chicken and do 3 meals out of it.
Yes. First meal is the roast chicken itself. Then what we do is pick all the meat off the bones that is left. Put it to one side, make a broth with the bones. Yeah. And that makes a lovely chicken noodle soup with a little bit of the extra chicken meat in there.
And how do you make that broth? Really easy. What's the easiest way for people at home?
Oh, gosh. Chicken carcass, chicken bones, cover with water, a little bit of celery, a little bit of bay leaf, cover with water, simmer it for about an hour. Yeah. And there you go. You've got the most fragrant stock as well. And what I like to do as well is keep the vegetable peelings. But now this is a tip I was going to share later, but as I'm chopping, I can share with you now. What we do in our house as well is I've got in my food waste bin, we've got I've got a food waste bin, then we've got a pan next to the food waste bin. And in that pan, the carrot peelings get saved, the fennel tops get saved, the pumpkin skins would get saved. And when the pan's full, cover it with water, pop it on the heat, simmer it for about half an hour, a couple of bay leaves, some peppercorns, and then great tip is after it's simmered for half an hour, turn it off, let it cool down. Yeah. And then if you just strain it off, then you've got vegetable stock for free.
Do you know what I love about that? Like at home, we have, I say at home, at my parents' house, they have a compost for the garden. I live in London, I don't have a garden, and I'm thinking, what can I do with peelings and waste? So that's just perfect, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And we used to do that same recipe in a 3-star Michelin restaurant in Paris, believe it or not. So if it's good enough for a 3-star Michelin restaurant in Paris, it's good enough for...
And is that the stock we're going to use this evening?
That's the stock we're using this evening, yeah. Do you want to have a wee look at what I've done here?
Yeah, I do.
So here is our pan.
Smells delicious.
It's really fragrant. There's some mushroom peelings in there, some onion peelings in there. It looks a little bit like a dustbin, but I can tell you now, the flavour is fantastic.
It doesn't smell like a dustbin. It smells incredible.
The aroma is fantastic. Yeah. There's so much natural sugar left in these vegetables. Yeah. It's just an absolute shame to put it to waste. And by putting it in the water like that, it just brings out the natural sugars within those vegetables, and it's just sensational. It's really fragrant.
And we've got the stock over the heat there. Is that important for risotto?
Very important. Yeah. We've got to keep the stock hot. We always add hot stock into the rice, and I'll talk about that a little bit more when we get going.
Brilliant.
And it's a great great tip.
So everyone at home, you should have your pumpkin sort of chopped up, and now we're just going on the shallots.
Yeah. So pumpkin roughly chopped to sort of like half a centimeter sort of chunks is absolutely fine. Yeah. Now I'm finely chopping our shallots. Yeah. That they don't have to be that finely chopped. As long you can slice them if your knife skills aren't there.
Could you run them on a box grater?
Well, you could, but you'd cry like no tomorrow.
Yeah, would you? Get your goggles on.
Yeah, get your goggles on.
Get your zogs on.
Get your zogs on. Yeah, exactly. You absolutely could if you wanted to.
Yeah.
I'd rather you just slice them, to be fair. The reason we're using shallots is because they've got a little bit more sweetness than onions, and I think a little bit of sweetness in this dish is really lovely.
Perfect.
So now I've chopped up our shallots. I'm going to do the same for our garlic.
Yeah. Something I do at home in terms of, for anyone watching wants a tip on leftovers, things like herbs. You can buy a bunch of herbs and you might not use the whole bunch in a recipe, and just make little herb ice cubes. Finely chop them, put them into an ice cube tray, freeze it, then you can drop them in to finish a risotto, a curry, a stew. Yeah. And then you've got all that flavor because, you don't always need the full bunch.
Perfect. And you know what? I do something similar with chilies. So you get these beautiful, beautiful green chilies actually from our post office. They're amazing. But you get like, I don't know, about a dozen chilies in there, right? And they're really spicy. So,
did you say from the post office?
Yeah, from my local post office that sells chilies.
Interesting.
It's a funny old place. It's a funny old place. But they make they make amazing curries too. But that's another story.
Yeah.
So you got these chilies, these tiny little green chilies. Pop them in the freezer if you're not going to use them. So fresh bag in the freezer, because no one uses all the chilies.
No, you get a bag of 10 or something.
Yeah, a bag of 10, and they sit in your fridge until they go a bit
dry
and horrible, and that's it. So keep them in the freezer. Works perfectly. And then just chop a bit of frozen chili up, and that's what we do.
So in we go.
So just a dash of right now. You take a saucepan.
Can I get rid of this?
Yes, you can, but don't throw it away.
Yeah, I'm going to save it.
Pop
into there.
Pop all the veg peelings in the stock.
Look at that.
That's so much flavour there. It's going to go to waste if it goes in the bin. So we pop it in. So that's the peelings, the garlic peelings as well, the pumpkin, the shallot.
There we go.
Waste not, want not. Because I tell you what, Chris, a pumpkin is not just for Halloween.
It's for dinner too.
Oh, he's catching on.
Yeah.
He's catching on. Right. So I've got a heavy base pan here. I'm just warming it up now. I'm going to put it on a high heat.
Yeah.
Now a couple of tablespoons of olive oil. And in goes the shallots and garlic.
Okay.
There we are. That's a sizzle there.
And, someone's asking here, Val wants to know, how do you get all the dirt off the root veg before you use it for a stock?
Good question. You should give it a jolly good wash first.
Give it a rinse.
So I can tell you what I tend to do is I get a sink full of water, put the plug in the sink, put all my veg in there, give it a jolly good wash around, and then pull the plug out. And take the veg out while the water's still in there, so the mud and stuff stays in the sink. Put the veg on the draining board, and then they are ready to go, all cleaned, all done. But you might as well do it in one go, all together. Otherwise, you'll be there forever washing a carrot.
And I'm guessing that's probably a tip you've used in a restaurant that you can bring to the home. Do it all in one go. Do it in a batch. When you get your veg, just get it cleaned.
Get it clean, exactly. Get it clean. Get it in your fridge. Get it away there. Perfect. So all our veggies are in the pan now. They're sweating down. I'm going to put a pinch of salt in at this stage, and that's going to help all the natural flavors come out as well and help it sweat down while that's happening. It's going to take a couple of minutes to cook there. Yeah.
While that's cooking, Lorraine wants to know, do you chop chilies before freezing? I put them in whole into the freezer personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Pop them in whole, Lorraine. It works really well, and they slice so much easier when they're frozen. It's quite actually nice.
It's quite therapeutic.
It's quite therapeutic. It slides through
slicing a frozen chili
as well.
How long will your veg stock last? Sharon wants to know. How long will that keep in the fridge?
3-4 days in the fridge, no problem. If you're worried about it lasting any longer, pop it in the freezer. Yeah. I keep the takeaway containers in my house. Not that I ever have takeaways, of course. No. But if I was to have takeaways,
you would definitely keep the containers.
Definitely keep the containers, and I would use them for vegetable stock. Yeah. Definitely.
Hey, we all love a takeaway.
Absolutely, definitely. So this is sweating down now. I'm just going to start the caramelized walnuts.
Perfect. Well. Quick one before you do that. Can somebody use an OXO cube for this?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely can. You can definitely use an OXO cube. We all use them now and again. My trick is when you make an OXO cube, put it in a jug like this. Yeah. Put any sort of herb trim you have in there. And then a dash of white wine, something like that. Put the boiling water over the top. You've got an OXO cube extra. Yeah. Which is amazing.
Bit of boost.
Definitely.
That smells lovely already. That squash and garlic and.
Oh, it's all happening, Chris. It's all happening, Chris. You want to get that. You want to get that until it's almost dry there as well. Okay. So if you've got your pumpkin in the pan and it's starting to stick, don't worry. Just turn the heat down a little bit, and and keep on stirring, because eventually all that lovely caramelized flavor on the bottom of the pan will come off when you put the white wine and stuff like that in. So don't panic at this stage. As long as it's not burning, that's really important.
That's it. Use your nose for that bit.
Use your nose. Use your nose. Exactly. Oh, Chris, I just want to say a quick hello to my friends in Ireland who have joined us. Sparks Live. There's the first Sparks Live event in Ireland. So welcome.
Yeah.
Hope you're cooking along at home. Yeah. Right. So while this is cooking along nicely, let's make the caramelized nuts.
I like the sound of that.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's a recipe and a half, this one.
Yeah.
And it makes a great little snack too.
Yeah, I was thinking that. Do a few more, save a few back.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice little festive sort of snack.
And that's what cooking thoughtfully is all about, really. So why not make a few extra and save them for later as well? So it's about.
I would never have thought doing something so sweet and candied on top of a risotto. I love the sound of this.
Yeah. Well, we're going to put a pinch of salt in it as well.
Okay.
So in the pan, I've got some sugar, equal quantities of sugar and water. So that's boiled together nicely. I'm going to take our nuts and just stir them in, and that will coat the nuts just really delicately, not too much, just a little bit. We'll let that boil for a minute or two, and then we'll pop them in the oven.
And you haven't actually made a caramel at this stage yet, have you? You've just
no. They're going to caramelize in the oven. So this is it's so simple, it's so easy, and stress-free.
Could you use another type of nuts if you had different ones in the cupboard?
You can use your favorite nut.
Yeah,
absolutely. Any nut you like.
I'll not ask you what your favorite nuts
from
are.
cashew nuts to hazelnuts. All that sort of stuff. I love a hazelnut, but then again, I love that sort of like hazelnut praline and all that sort of stuff. Dare I say it's absolutely sensational. As you see now, they're starting to coat just nicely. Give them a minute or two longer, just until they're shiny, and then we're going to pop them in the oven at 180 degrees centigrade.
Big shout out to Wendy, who's using her own Prince of Wales squash that she's harvested herself. Amazing.
Fantastic.
Homegrown produce is some of the best, isn't it? So satisfying, growing your own.
Absolutely.
Garden.
Keep appealing for a stock as well.
Yeah,
because you've grown this yourself.
Yeah.
You want every bit of flavour in there as well. Well done, Wendy. Right, so I'm stirring away this pumpkin. You see it starting to break down now as well. That's exactly what we want, because that's going to melt into the risotto and be absolutely sensational. Here's our nuts now. They're nicely caramelized.
Yeah.
Well, not nicely caramelized, sorry. They're not caramelized yet. Yeah. They're coated. We're just going to pop them on some greaseproof paper.
I'll just angle that up so we can see it on the camera there.
There we go.
Onto there. Important to use the greaseproof here, or that's probably going to stick like crazy.
Yeah, I tend to use greaseproof paper or even tinfoil if I was stuck, because it does make a bit of a mess on your tins, and it takes longer to cook.
Yeah. And how much water and sugar went into there?
Equal quantities.
Equal
so
quantities.
You don't have to weigh it out. You just need to make sure it's the same amount of sugar to water.
So basically, cup of sugar, cup of water.
Yeah, exactly. So then I've got some flaky sea salt. I'm just going to sprinkle that on the top, spread out the nuts a little bit, and then pop them in the oven.
Okay, in the go. How long is that?
5 minutes, 180 degrees.
Keep an eye on your nuts, mind. You don't want them burning.
Pardon?
Keep an eye on your nuts.
Yes, thank you. It's a long time since anyone said that to me. Right. So now you can see our pumpkin started to caramelize on the bottom of the pan there. That's exactly what we're looking for, because that means
it's all flavour.
The water's come out of the pumpkin and the natural sugars are caramelizing in the bottom of the pan. Flavor. It gets so exciting now. So now you take your risotto rice, and I'll tell you what. Here's a quick cheat as well.
Okay.
Handful is a portion.
Yeah.
Handful's a portion. How many of us today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I can't
count that many.
And we're going to have some more tips on sort of leftover rice things later. But I think one key is, if you want to avoid waste with rice, is just don't cook too much. I think we're all guilty of just making a massive old pan of rice. You have your curry or whatever, and you're literally scraping it in the bin. But if you stick to that rule, handful of rice per person. Yeah,
but I just remembered the tip we're going to do later, so I put an extra in.
Yeah.
It's all right, this one. It tastes really, really good.
Yeah.
But I agree. But then again, I always cook too much in my house.
Yeah.
Right. So we're going to let that toast away now. And you want to.
Why do we toast the rice?
Gives it that individual grain. So risotto is very much about the texture of the rice and the flavor of it. So there's two key points here. You don't want it to be soupy. in terms of one texture. You want a little bit of bite in that rice. And to help ensure the rice keeps that individual texture, you pop it into the pan in the frying stage, and you fry the rice a little bit. It toasts the outside and just gives it the start of that individual texture, which is really important.
Does that help it absorb the stock and the flavour by toasting it at all? Or
I think it slows it down a wee bit. I think it slows it down a wee bit. But what is really important is that you boil your stock and you boil the rice as it cooks down. It's not like a paella where it just gently becomes into the rice and gently cooks. This needs to reduce and cook at the same time, so it intensifies that flavour. And we're going to mix it, because when you mix the rice, it knocks out a little bit of starch every time you bash that rice around, and helps it become creamier and richer.
I follow that rule when I make my porridge in the morning. The more you stir it, the creamier the bowl of porridge you get.
Really?
Yeah. And Charlotte wants to know, can you make egg fried rice with leftover rice? Probably not risotto rice. Something like a long grain or basmati, perhaps.
Yeah, but you absolutely can make it with a long grain, basmati, brown rice, any other rice. But this is like risotto rice is very much like pudding rice, so it really does get sort of like creamy and sticky. But by all means, great tip for that is have your oil really hot. And now this is not traditional Chinese fried rice, but put a knob of butter in it when the oil is red hot. Then crack an egg in and mix it round with a bit of salt and pepper and just a touch of soy sauce. And when the egg is really starting to fry and go crispy, chuck in that rice and then fry it for another minute or two. And when you think you've got enough oil and butter in it, just put a little bit more.
Love it.
Yeah, but anyway, right. So look, our risotto's coming together now, and it's all starting to stick to the pan, which is exactly what we want.
Before we go any further, let's do a little recap and get the method up on the screen now, so you can have a little read of that and catch up with where we're at. If we can pop them while we're waiting for the method.
Well, excuse me, that was for the.
Was it? I was hoping for a drink. Picked by Fred. Anyway, so you can see up on the screen there now. We had our oven on. We had the oil in the pan with the diced pumpkin, garlic, and shallots. Cooked it off for a couple of minutes, and then we've added the rice, and we are just toasting the rice, coating it in all of the oil, and that is where we are up to right now. And I'm about to have a little glass of this. I believe picked by Fred.
Picked by Fred, well, it must be good then.
Yeah, well, it's got to be the best. Yeah.
So before I taste it, well, I've tasted it already, actually, admittedly. Now's the time to add that wine into the risotto. Okay. So take your glass.
And why do we add wine as well?
Well, good question. So wine's two things really. It's sweet and it's acidic. When you really put that sort of when you break it down to what it really is. So it's going to add a sort of sweetness and a bit of acidulation, I like to say. It gives it a bit of acidulation, a bit of sweetness, which works really well in this. So I put that wine in as well, and just a touch of vinegar, because I just think, and this is cider vinegar, just a teaspoon, and that's going to really help it.
Can we just move the stock pan for now, just so we can see in there, because that camera's just blocking it off.
How about that?
Ruth, here we go. Here's your look inside of the pan.
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
Perfect. And let's move the walnut one out of the way as
well. I'll get rid of that. And I can see pretty much all of the liquid's gone from the wine.
Yeah.
So you're left with the flavour.
Exactly. And you can see, all the caramelised bits on the bottom of the pan, they're all gone now. And that's looking great. The wine's gone into the rice as well. So that sets the rice up for that acidity now and that sort of sweetness, sourness as well. You won't be able to taste it fully in the end recipe. However, it sets the base of it, which is so important.
And have you added the vinegar at this stage?
Yes, I've put a teaspoon of vinegar in there, and it's apple cider vinegar. It just helps the sweet and sourness as well. I love apple cider vinegar. It's really nice, and also it's just got that lovely autumnal flavour to it as well. Right, now we can hear that noise, and it's frying. Okay. We've got to add some stock to it now. Hot stock. And we're going to mix it in.
So a couple of ladles in to start?
Just a few ladles. You don't have to put too many in. Just enough to cover it gently. Yeah. And keep it on a sort of medium to high heat. And you've got to keep on stirring. You've got to stir this as much as you can.
And don't forget, enter tonight's competition. We are going to pick a winner live at the end of this show, and it's to have the chance to come along to the next Sparks Live and taste what we're going to be eating. And with Francesco Mezze doing a pasta masterclass, and I'm looking forward to it. So hopefully you can come and join. Just email your top food waste tip to the email address on screen now. Looking forward to having a read, and we're going to pick.
Mum, are you watching that? Because you're going to enter it and I can be a +1, okay?
Yeah.
It'll be amazing. So if I could just show you here what's happening. You see the pan's reduced down and all that stock's gone into the rice.
Smells lovely.
This is really, really key. We've got to get that right. Right, so we've got to keep on stirring and keep managing that stock. You want to just covering the rice, and every couple of minutes, you're just going to have to add a few more ladles in, and you let that flavour reduce down into the rice. Give it a mix constantly.
And will the volume of stock vary from pan to pan in houses around the country? Does it depend how hot you've got it, how wide the pan is? Is there a set amount?
Absolutely. It will change a little bit. If you've got a wider base pan, things will evaporate quicker. So you'll have to put it on a lower heat. So you just got to play it by ear a little bit. But, you know, cooking's about using all your senses. Yeah.
And what could you use instead of alcohol for anyone wanting to know?
I would definitely use the cider vinegar for sure. If you... That's the first port of call, but you can just leave it out. A touch of lemon juice at the end works really well as well. Acidity. You just need that acidity that's got a little bit of sugar in it as well, because that just helps wonderfully. But now we're adding the stock. It's going to take about sort of 15 minutes of constant stirring. Yeah.
And while we're just on with that, adding your stock at home, any top tips on using up leftover veg? I know I've got one, but I'd like to hear what.
Leftover veg. So I mean, I tell you what we do at our house at home: burritos. Any leftovers, you can make leftover burritos. So you need a wrap, and we call it a burrito. It's a burrito in the loosest of terms. The fact is, it's a wrap. We fry off whatever we've got cooked, be it some mince or that's left over, be it some sort of roast potatoes, be it some steamed broccoli or something like that. And you just fry it off in a pan. Bit of lettuce, crushed avocado, maybe a bit of hot sauce.
Yeah, whatever you've got in the fridge.
A bit of smoked paprika, and then wrap it up with some cheese. Yeah. Gently toast it so the outside's crispy. Sensational.
Delicious.
And you know what? Our kids, so I've got three little boys. They love burritos, right? So you got burritos that are like, burritos, cool.
And it's packed full of veg.
Absolutely. And it's a burrito, so it's cool. Yeah. Which is really important. Okay, so this has got a lot of stirring to go on here now. We've got about 15 minutes left. I'm going to pass it on to you now, because that's a really mundane job.
How are the nuts looking as well?
Good.
How are your nuts looking?
Good, thanks.
Yeah.
Oh, the ones in the oven.
Yeah, the ones in the oven. Yeah.
How's my risotto looking?
Yeah, that looks good to me.
Oh, look, here they are.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm going to swap over.
Let's swap sides. I'll do a bit of stirring. And this is the nice thing about risotto. If you're at home, it can be quite a relaxing thing. Cheers.
Cheers. Yeah.
Cheers, Fred. Good choice.
Good choice. A little bit more stock.
Bit more stock.
It's your first time.
Yeah, I think it probably. What, with me nuts or a risotto?
Not the nuts. So here they are.
And that'll be really hot, mind, won't it?
That'll be super hot. You see, one of them's got toasted a bit too far there. I'll just take that out on the side. But if you leave them there to the side, they'll cool down wonderfully. They've got this sweet and salty edge to it. It's amazing.
That smells so good. Like, seriously nice. So for the next, how much longer is that going to take?
That's going to take about 15. Well, no, less than that. Now about 12 minutes, I would have said.
Okay.
About 12 to 10 minutes.
So at home, they just need to continue.
Just at home now, whatever you do, don't stop stirring. Stirring, and this is one of the most important times of the risotto. Stand over it. Chris has already given up doing it.
Yeah, I've given up. Yeah.
But don't you at home, right? So stand over it, keep stirring. If it's reducing too quickly, just turn it down a little bit, and you get but keep stirring, keep adding that stock, because this is when the rice cooks and the flavour gets into it. Yeah.
And while you're stirring, I've got something for you to watch. A little bit of light entertainment.
Fantastic.
And we're going to watch it as well. I met a couple of friends, made some new friends last week, and it's a conversation I had all about sort of how Ben and Sharon have changed the way they cook and eat in the face of climate change. So really interesting, and they are from Reboot the Future, fantastic organisation. So I'm going to hand over to myself, which is a bit weird, but over to Chris, and we're going to stir and do a bit of watching. So let's keep going.
Stirring.
Keep on stirring. Thanks, Chris. I've got to say, looking good there today. Now, I'm excited to be joined by Ben and Sharon and we're going to be talking about Reboot and eating sustainably in the face of climate change. So Ben, tell me a little bit more about what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Ben, currently a university student, but over these last 2 years I'm getting involved with climate action and more recently working with Reboot the Future. So started off with online working in kind of global festivals, and now more recently working with M&S.
Amazing. And Sharon, how about yourself?
So I'm Ben's sister. I also used to be involved kind of youth participation and campaigning back in the day, but have recently been working with Reboot and really excited to be here talking about sustainability.
Great. And what exactly do Reboot do?
Well, they follow this golden rule of treat the planet and treat other people as you want to be treated yourself. I think that's really important, and it's sort of working with young people and these sort of bigger corporation and bridging that gap between the two.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is that they are helping to spark conversations in homes and with different groups of people about what sustainability and climate change means to them.
Okay. And what does that mean to you?
Yeah, really good question. I think for me, it's about being conscious of your everyday choices, like what you eat, but also what you buy and what you throw away, and just being thinking about what the impact is on the future, not just today.
Okay. And how do you feel when you see the news about climate change?
I'd say there's two sides to every coin. On the one hand, it can make you quite upset and a bit angry, but I think it's also really important to inform yourselves about the issue. I think we can't live in this sort of fantasy world where it's not going on, so it's quite good to have this sort of, this is an issue we need to sort of deal with.
And do you think enough's been done?
We're working towards it. I think you can never really quantify how much is enough, but I think it's really good. I've seen a lot of positive change, particularly with young people, with more people getting interested in this sort of issue.
Yeah, I think the first stage, of course, is raising awareness, but slowly we're starting to see that actually implementing in actions, both at like an individual level and what people choose to do in terms of how they live their lives, but also at sort of a broader societal level.
Sounds like the golden rule is such a simple message, but could be so impactful. Do you think it's a way we should all be living our lives?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's not something that should just be related to climate change, but just how we behave.
I think a lot of it is just changing habits of how we live. Like little things added up over time can make a massive difference. That leads me on nicely to asking, how have you changed your eating habits, especially since becoming involved?
So there was always this concept of like you want to like swap meat out for meat alternatives, but actually I've just really embraced eating vegetables and like making interesting food out of that.
That's probably one way I look at it. Like I'm a meat eater, I love meat. Hey, M&S sells some incredible meat, and it's all about, for me personally, eating better quality meat, maybe less days in the week, and then celebrating veg the other days, and, you know, making that vegetable the centre of what it is you're cooking. A bit like what Tristan is cooking tonight with that lovely pumpkin recipe. It can be the star of the show, can't it? And
absolutely.
Did you know UK households throw away nearly a third of the food in the bin? How does that make you feel?
Yeah, I think, you know, I can put my hand up of being guilty of throwing away lots of food, and it's because I'm not very good at planning exactly what I'm going to eat and when, because my life is a bit unpredictable. Yeah. And I always want to have the kind of optionality at home. But what I've tried to do more consciously is now be really clear about what fresh produce I buy. So then you know that you need to finish that and reduce the amount you throw away. But it does make you feel really guilty.
I think one easy way to look at it is if you take £100 a week food bill in cash and just throw 35 of it in the bin. That is literally what people are doing, isn't it? Food planning for me is the way around it. For instance, if you buy a bunch of herbs and a recipe only uses half, make sure you're doing something the next night that's going to use it up, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think are simple steps of eating more mindfully around climate change?
Like you mentioned, planning your meals is really important, but also doing a little bit of research into the sort of industries you're looking at. So meat industry, specific one. It's just educating yourselves in these different food sectors can really help you in making a better conscious decision.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess linked to that is kind of thinking about the provenance of your food. So if you're buying vegetables or any produce, where does it come from? Like, are you buying it locally, and is it sourced locally? Of course, you can't always buy everything that's local and in season, but thinking about that.
I think for me as a cook and a chef and someone that's grown up in the UK, is actually celebrating and championing British ingredients, because if we can buy food in season, it tastes better, and it costs less.
Yeah. When I was growing up, I had no idea really what was necessarily in season, because
Yeah.
you go to the shops and everything's available all the time. But now I'm kind of educating myself on what are the things that are more of the particular season. And you're right, it definitely has an impact on the flavour and the freshness and quality.
Big time. So for everyone watching at home, let's try and give them some inspiration of how we can eat more mindfully. Yes, we can plan our meals, but have you got any other tips for using up every single thing that you've got in the fridge, the cupboard, and in the kitchen?
So I didn't really realise how many things you could freeze. For instance, like bread. So we buy sourdough bread on the weekend, we don't get through it all. You freeze it and then you can just pop a slice in the toaster and it's perfect. But I'd love to know if you have any more tips on what else you can freeze.
Oh, I've got more tips than you can shake a stick at. You can freeze cheese, grate it, put it in a bag, airtight. You can freeze milk. You can actually freeze eggs. Not that there's enough eggs in my house to freeze because I'll eat them all. But yeah, cheese, grate it, put it in a bag, airtight, and then you can add that onto your cheese sauces for your lasagnas, cheese on toast, whatever you want. Even chilies, you can freeze a whole chili, you might buy a bag of 4, and then you can actually grate that chili, or you can chop it up or add it whole into a curry or a stew. Herbs, I like to do sort of herb ice cubes. So if you've got half a bunch of herbs left, chop them up and just pop them into your ice cube tray with a splash of water, and then you can drop them into pasta, curry, stew, whatever it is, and you've got like fresh herb ice cubes. There's so much you can freeze though, isn't it? I think bread's the biggest one. So brother and sister, you're both involved. Has this had an impact on the rest of your family's approach to eating sustainably?
Definitely. I think when I first started getting into sort of climate action, sustainability, my whole family was very proud of me, and that kind of gave me the motivation to continue with it. And what I was really happy to see was that I had a bit of an impact on my family's eating habits. Obviously my sister was already very conscious about what she was eating, but then also kind of getting the opinions of my brother-in-law and my parents, and sort of just seeing how they thought about the issue.
Yeah, I think the example we'd give is last summer we had a big family barbecue. Actually, we had them like every weekend because lockdown. And we had one where we tried out all the different types of burgers. So like meat alternative burgers, like bean burgers and things. And it was kind of like a blind tasting. So you could kind of figure out which one you liked most. And it was really impressive. They were pretty good.
Quality of what you can buy now, flavour-wise, as your experience with your barbecue, is second to none, and it's such an easy switch to do, isn't it? If you are craving that burger or the hot dogs and sausages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So for anyone that feels inspired to find out more and take a bit of action, where can they go to?
One that I think is particularly useful is reboottheconversation.org. It's a campaign alongside with M&S and Reboot the Future, and it sort of gives some help and tips to open this conversation with people you love and about things that you find important, and videos there which you can have a look at to get a little bit more inspiration. But I think it's really positive to see these bigger corporations such as M&S with their Look Behind the Label campaign, which sort of reveal and kind of look back at their own products and kind of showing they're making a conscious effort to improve their sustainability.
So Ben, if there is one takeaway point for everyone at home today, what's that got to be?
I'd say just sparking the conversation. I think it takes a lot of courage to go up to even a family or friend even to have a conversation about sustainability, but I think it's a really important one to have.
Brilliant. And Sharon?
I think for me it's about taking stock of what you do on a daily basis and say, am I doing things that are having a positive impact on the planet or not? Or are there simple things that I could change to improve that?
Great. What I'll take away from you guys is it is the small changes that over time are going to have probably the biggest difference. And it's just been great chatting and finding out more.
Yeah, great talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And back to me in the studio with Tristan. And Tristan, I hope you've got that risotto about ready. I know what Chris is like. He's always hungry. Well, I hope you enjoyed that and picked up a few tips on how to make veg the star of the show, as Tristan is doing tonight. I thought I was the star of the show, but it turns out the vegetables are. So.
Pumpkin is the star of the show
Pumpkin's
tonight,
the star of the
Chris.
show.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I got to flag up competition. You've got 1 minute to get your entries in. 1 minute to go. I need your sustainable cooking tips. Email them in. Now, where are we up to?
Such a fantastic prize, that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So now my risotto has been cooking away wonderfully, and I thought I was going to get away and get a break, and Chris was going to be stirring for me. However, I've been stirring away here, and this consistency is coming through now. It's getting creamy, it's getting rich. and lovely. You notice it's not swimming in the stock. That's really important. We don't want it to swim away in the stock. It's just about right.
What is the perfect texture for a risotto?
Right. So that's really important. You want that bite, as they say, al dente. Now, it could be a tiny little nut that's in the middle of the rice, which is just got to give you that slight crunch. And so this is a thing you can do by time, and it takes about 18 minutes in total. Or alternatively, you can just give it a wee taste.
Yeah.
And let me give it a wee taste here. Let's just give it a wee taste. This is really good. Mine's perfect. Mine's perfectly good. Who would have thought it?
Yeah, who'd have thought Tristan knows how to cook risotto?
So when it's that perfect consistency like that, you want to just mix it down till it's almost dry. Because then all that flavor has gone into that rice. And I'm going to show you how to finish it beautifully. If your rice is not quite ready yet, or you're not happy with it, keep on cooking it. Keep on adding that stock until it's the right consistency and taste for you.
It's not a race. Take your time. You want to get it right.
Absolutely. So now it's almost leaving the pan now, as you can see.
I didn't know that. So actually you want to almost cook it to dry at this stage before we go on with the next.
Oh, yeah, because I've got a tip that just takes a risotto into a whole new level of yumminess.
That's why I'm here.
That's why you're here. Am I right to put this here? Can you see that? You can see the pan there like that? So now when our risotto has come to this sort of consistency here. Oh, there we are. Perfect. I'm just going to hold it up like this so you can see. Maybe you can help me out.
Yeah, of course I can.
So first up is a pinch of sage.
Just dried sage?
Just dried sage or fresh sage, depending on what you've got there. Today we're using dried. So now if you can put a couple of spoons of mascarpone in. And what that's going to do, that's going to take some of the aggressive heat out of the risotto and just go on one more. There you go. We stir that in first.
Straight away changing the texture and just creamy is the word that comes to mind.
Creamy is exactly the word there that we're looking for. Creamy consistency. And you can see it's starting to coat each grain now. So it's got all when we reduce it down, we had all that flavor that's just gently coating the rice, but now it's being, as we say in French, monté. So now it's mixing with that flavor and enriching it. It's just making this risotto go to new heights. Now we need a decent dollop of butter too.
Decent dollop of butter. When we say a decent dollop of butter, we mean a decent dollop of butter, don't we, for risotto?
You're from Yorkshire, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I'm up north. Any more than that?
Any more than that? That's probably enough.
That'll do.
That's probably enough there. That's a lot of butter.
We can take a little bit out.
No, we can't. No, I love butter.
Yeah.
I love butter. So why not? And you know what? Butter's not bad for you.
No.
It really isn't. So we're just stirring that in.
The smell.
Look at the texture, how that's changed now. It's just completely transformed. Now we're going to use some parmesan.
Yeah.
And just sprinkle in the parmesan like so.
And that's going to season it as well, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Parmesan is full of that flavor we call umami.
Yeah.
And umami just takes things to a whole new level. It's that background flavor.
Yeah.
So we're going to stir that in till it melts wonderfully. So we've got an incredibly rich umami-like texture there. It's just sensational. You see, it's still slightly too thick.
Yeah.
You see how it's holding its consistency a little bit more? So if it's like that,
splash more stock.
Just a splash more stock. And hey, use as much stock as you want because you made it. It's free.
Yeah, exactly. Get it in there.
Get it in there. So there we are.
Look at that. Are there any other vegetables you could add to this? If that was your base of a pumpkin, if is there anything that someone might have in the fridge that could maybe add to that?
Oh gosh. The world's your oyster here. And the only thing I'd say, don't use potatoes because that kind of breaks down. But you got your celeriacs, you got your mushrooms, for instance, does fabulously well. And then even things like onions, and spring onions, and herbs. So if you chuck a load of spring onions and herbs, you got fresh herb risotto. Yeah, and it's amazing. It's delicious. Or if you wanted to change your nuts, you could just use hazelnuts, cashew nuts, and chuck them in and have sort of a nut risotto as well.
And there's not many left because they're that good. We've just been sort of snacking away on them during that little.
You're cheeky, I tell you. You're cheeky. I had to slap his wrists.
Yeah, he did as well.
Okay, another little taste. Just a pinch more salt.
Okay.
Really important at this stage.
Season.
Have a taste. Love it. So if it needs a little bit more salt, put a bit more salt in. Needs a bit of twist of pepper, put a twist of pepper in. You notice how I've taken it off the heat.
Yeah. Important thing to do.
Important thing to do because you don't want to boil it once you put that butter and mascarpone and all that sort of stuff in. Because if you boil it, it's going to spit out and then it'll be a bit. Well, if you do that, if you forget to take it off the heat, Just add a little bit more stock. Don't worry, keep on stirring. Take it off the heat. It will come back together, I promise you.
Yeah.
Right, so now we're going to serve up
Yeah.
this amazing risotto here. Just gonna
Onto the plate. And is there any other cheese you could use if someone's got different cheese in the fridge? Obviously, we've used parmesan tonight, but is it a good chance to use up others?
Yeah, well, you can use. Do you know what? I've done it with cheddar before. I've done it with. I like to do it with Burke's well, actually, which I know that you sell in M&S as well. It's a fantastic cheese, but that's a goat's cheese. But then I know Janet's done really well, and she's using vegan. Parmesan, is it? So you can mix it up as long as you taste it.
Let's have a go at that then.
Yeah, that's
so
it.
a little shake.
Just a little shake. This is a chefy trick.
Yeah, okay.
A little shake.
Look
and just
at that.
Flan it out, and you've got a beautiful presentation there, like that. Look at that. It's all nice and uniform.
And is it right you should eat from the outside in because of obviously it gets
for the warmth?
for the warmth.
Yeah, absolutely. Just take some of these
I
walnuts. You can crush a few nuts. Yeah, just go delicate with your nuts.
Okay, I'll try my best.
Now I'm just breaking them up, putting them around like so.
So that's all texture now, isn't it?
Oh gosh, yeah. It's
Contrasted
gonna
textures.
take this risotto to new heights. It really will. It'll rather than being just a warm hug, it's a warm hug with a little nutty crunch. That's just sensational.
Warm hug with a couple of nuts.
Exactly. So now I'm just going to sprinkle over some parmesan as well. And here we are. Here's another little tip. Everyone's got a bit of olive oil in their house. Just take your olive oil and just gently drizzle it over the top. And all of a sudden, it transforms the dish in terms of. Do you want a bit of a drizzle?
Yeah, I'll have a little bit of a drizzle. Little chefy drizzle. Look at that.
That's our fabulous risotto with caramelized walnuts and parmesan.
And it looks delicious. And hey, I'm going to have a little try now.
Are you going to have a little try?
I'm going to have to.
Go on then.
And hopefully everyone at home, if you've got to this stage, give it a go.
If your risotto's not ready, by the way, keep on stirring. Don't rush it. Let it take its time, stuff like that. But while that's going on, I've got this great tip I want to show you. So either while you're tucking into your pumpkin risotto, is that all right?
It's more than all right. That is unbelievable.
You're a sweet. I'll tell you what. Have some extra nuts.
Yeah, I will.
Have some extra nuts. You've been such a good boy.
That's seriously good. And do you know what I like about that? It's decadent, it's rich, it's delicious, but it's so easy to do. And you've made it using peelings from veg that would have gone in the bin.
Yep.
And potentially a pumpkin that the kids might have carved out for Halloween.
Yep.
And you've just made something incredible with it. So, wow.
Exactly. Seasonal and delicious.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoy it. Right. So, but however, if you've got a little bit of risotto left over, here's a great tip for you. So I've got my risotto, which is here. It was just cooked yesterday. It's now really importantly, as soon as it's been cooked, don't leave it out. Put it in the fridge.
Yeah. What's the best way to chill your rice? Because I think rice is something that goes in the bin a lot. It's really safe to store, but what's the most safe way to do it?
So the best way to do it is spread it out on a plate and let it cool down as quick as it can, and have it in the fridge within an hour. And
Okay.
That way it's perfectly safe, and also it keeps the freshness as well, which you don't want it lingering outside.
Yeah.
So get it in the fridge as quick as you can, hopefully within an hour, and there you go. It's good to go for the next day. So we are going to make risotto balls.
Risotto balls.
Risotto balls. The Italians call them arancini.
We've all had them in the restaurants.
We've all fancy restaurants. Yeah, I used to cook in Petrus back in the
did
days.
you?
Yeah, years and years ago. So all you need for this is the leftover risotto. See, nothing goes to waste, Chris. Nothing goes to waste.
That's why we're here.
Breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Eggs. If you could crack a couple of eggs in there, that would be perfect. You don't have to use breadcrumbs. You can use cornflakes as well.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Wow. We've all got some of them in the cupboard.
Exactly.
Rice Krispies.
Exactly. Rice Krispies, yeah, if you really wanted to. Yeah.
Whatever
absolutely.
you've got.
Hey, definitely. So a little bit of flour there as well. So egg, flour, and breadcrumbs, or cereal of your choice.
Maybe not Cocoa Pops, though.
Cocoa Pops is not the right thing. Cocoa Pops is not the right thing. I'm going to add some salt to the flour.
Yeah.
Because that's just going to help season it as well. What do you want, cornflakes or breadcrumbs?
Let's go traditional breadcrumb.
Let's go traditional breadcrumbs. So, first up, here's the risotto. God, this is a lovely risotto. Okay. There we are. Just roll it into a bowl, like so, and pop that straight in your flour.
Okay.
A good tip is actually, and I haven't done it, so I'm going to get mucky hands, but if you want cleaner hands, wet them first.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then they won't stick.
Run straight off.
So you won't have yellow hands. But there we are. So we'll roll the balls like so.
It's almost worth making extra risotto so you can do arancini the next day.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, definitely. And if you wanted to, supersize this or anything like that, you could put some chopped herbs in, put a different cheese in. You could put some of those caramelized nuts in if there were any left. Chris,
They're going home with me, the rest of them tonight. They're eating in the car on the way back.
Excellent, excellent. So now I've got 5 here. I'll maybe make a few more in a minute.
Yeah.
But so we just coat the balls in the flour, drop them in your egg like so. There we go.
Really easy.
Really easy. Now only use one hand for this bit.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you end up with a really mucky. I mean, I'm getting really mucky now, but I'm a mucky pup. So, egg into the flour, into the breadcrumbs, and this is a real treat. We've got our oil on, which is nice and hot now. I'll show you a way on how to check if that's hot enough in a second.
And in terms of the egg, do you want to sort of allow as much excess to drip off?
Yeah. That's it. You don't want too much egg on it. It's just really to help the breadcrumbs coat.
And also the risotto, if you didn't want to do arancini, but you've made too much, what's the best way to warm that up the next day?
Right. So the best way to warm that up is a little bit of stock in the pan. Get that stock boiling, then add your rice.
Okay.
Or essentially, if you wanted to, you could put the risotto in a baking dish, put some cheese and stuff like that on top, maybe some breadcrumbs, maybe a few extra nuts, a little bit of apple or something, bake it in the oven.
Oh,
and you've got sort of like a gratin.
Oh, delicious.
The possibilities are endless. Now, do you want a double crunch or a single crunch?
What's going to be better, chef?
I like a double crunch.
Yeah, let's get a double crunch.
God, dear me, there we go. Double mucky now.
And these are sort of panko breadcrumbs. Could you use stale bread or something like that?
Oh, please, yeah, definitely. Don't let any bread go to waste. Stale bread is absolutely perfect for this. I'm coating it in twice. You don't have to, but you like
double crunch.
Double crunch. If there's an opportunity for some double crunch, we'll definitely have
get it double dipped. It's the only time you can double dip this, isn't it?
This is,
it's allowed.
It's allowed. Double dipping's allowed here.
And is there another way to cook them if you didn't want to deep fry it? Could it potentially be done in an oven, or you're not going to get the same result?
Oven. You absolutely can do it in an oven. Or here's another great tip as well. Let me just wash my hands. And I'll show you a tip. Another tip. Hold on. It's sticky business.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, if anyone's finished their risotto, please do tag me and Tristan in any pictures of it tonight, and we'll reshare them on social media, because I know I'll be taking a picture of this and sharing it. It's absolutely delicious.
That'll be
so
an absolute
rich.
Pleasure. Yeah, tag us in. We'll share away. So nice to see what you're cooking at home. Absolutely wonderful. So what you can do, if you don't want to deep fry them, you can take a non-stick pan, put a tiny bit of oil in, and just squash them like that, and you've got
little patties.
And you've got a risotto cake.
Oh wow!
You've got a risotto cake.
I like that.
If you really wanted to show off to your friends, next time you get a bit of cheese and put a bit of cheese in that risotto
in the middle,
wrap it round, and then do it as well. So everyone's always got a bit of cheese in the end in their cupboard, or not in the cupboard. Right. So here we are. Our oil's ready. I just tested it by popping in 1 or 2 breadcrumbs and just checking that they're browning. And they are. They're browning wonderfully. I'm going to pop these in. There we go. See, nice and messy there, Chris. We'll be here till midnight cleaning up.
We will.
We will.
I'll be here with my bottle of wine, risotto, a couple of arancini, doing the cleaning up.
Well, do you know what? It's quite nice, actually.
Yeah, it is.
Actually, nothing wrong with that. So they're just frying away nicely.
How long is that going to take? Literally until it's golden
minutes.
brown.
Just until it's golden brown. This is frying a little bit quicker than I'd like it to. So the key thing with cooking is, if things aren't going exactly right, don't panic.
Yeah.
Take it out, take it off the heat. Yeah. You can either put it back in or pop it in the oven for a minute or two.
To finish it off.
And so we can do absolutely either of them. Yeah. But what you're left with, if we've got a little bowl here or something, or we can present it like this, can't we? Here we are. Oh, but they did colour very quickly.
And if your oil's too hot, a tip is just to add more oil to the pan, cold oil, isn't it, and bring the temperature down.
Absolutely, absolutely. And there you go. You've got these fantastic risotto balls.
Delicious.
Perfect. Waste not, want not, right?
Yeah, waste not, want not. And what will we do with the leftover breadcrumbs, flour and egg? Would what could we do with it?
breadcrumbs-
Well, we would
the breadcrumbs-
finish.
The breadcrumbs will keep for the next day,
Yeah.
so don't worry about that for a second. And so will the flour.
Yeah.
If you just put a container, a lid on top of the
Yeah.
flour and the breadcrumbs, they'll sit in your fridge
Yeah.
the next day. If you've got a little bit of egg left over, don't worry about it. You can make it into a quick omelette.
Yeah.
That's always
Yeah.
a good thing. Or you could even, I don't know.
Well, generally, just do enough egg that you're going to need to do that. We are going to use the rest of our egg
to be fair, crack one egg.
Yeah.
And if you need to do more,
add more.
Add more.
But I mean, what a feast in no time at all. Nice glass of wine.
That looks like breakfast.
Yeah, we'll just get the milk out. Right there. You'll be away with the
There we are.
cornflakes.
An absolute feast, you know. And risotto is so versatile,
Yeah.
and you can use it with other things that you're not that are left over. For instance, have you ever thought about putting a little bit of your bolognese mix that's left over into a risotto?
Wow. No,
It's
I haven't.
amazing with some smoked paprika.
Yeah.
My goodness me, the flavour is sensational.
Yeah, and in terms of the oil, what oil did you use on there?
We just use a vegetable oil.
Yeah.
Now that's not going to go bad at all. So you just let that cool down.
Yeah.
And when it's really cool, you just pop it back into the container that it came from.
And if someone had that in a deep fat fryer, what temperature do you think for arancini is a good?
180 degrees.
180 degrees. Can't go wrong with that. Well, we are getting close to announcing the winner of the competition. Are you not going to have a little taste of your own?
Yeah,
of your
I
own
definitely
goods?
will. Yeah.
But yeah, like we say, if anyone has made this tonight, we'd love to see what you've made. And don't forget, next month we've got another Sparks Live
With Francesco.
with Francesco, another one of the Cooking with the Stars team.
Perfect.
And
Excellent.
you're entering, aren't you, to come along and have a taste?
No, my mum's entering, and
Yeah.
I'm going to come as a +1.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And
I doubt she'll let me.
news just in. I'll pretend I've got an earpiece. I haven't. Karen Lee, I'll be seeing you next month in the studio for the next Sparks Live. So well done. And we will be in contact shortly. So well done, Karen.
Well done, Karen.
But also a massive,
You lucky jigger.
yeah, a well done to everyone at home that's watched and joined in tonight. And thank you, Tristan. It's been such a pleasure to cook with you and find out more about how to cook with your leftovers and make something simply delicious. So
What fun. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me, Chris. And thank you so much for cooking along at home. Please do tag me and Chris in and Martin Spencer's
Yeah.
into anything you're cooking. We would love to see it.
Yeah.
And thanks for cooking along.
yeah, good night. Let's eat this risotto.
All right.
And the
perfect.
nuts, delicious.
See you soon.
See ya.